Joining us this morning is Steve Kua, president of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association, to give us a clearer picture of how Filipinos are spending this holiday season and how prices are moving and just how consumers are adjusting. Good morning, Steve, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Bowie.
All right, so let's start off first with consumer spending. Are we now seeing stronger spending this Christmas season, and how does it compare to last year, Steve?
Well, sales have been relatively sluggish this year. Still waiting for the last probably 4 days before Christmas Day, for sales to pick up.
But who are driving purchases more at this point? Are they corporate buyers? Are they families, individuals?
Good question. It's the corporate buyers right now, okay, and people who are giving out in bulk for their friends and employees, and the customers, to their customers. So it's those guys who are driving up, demand. For the households, they're still bidding their time and thinking, not really thinking what to prepare, but thinking that it's fresher to buy last minute. But the pressure, the stress, it's not gonna help.
Okay, so right now it's still the corporate buyers for all those loot bags and packages for their employees. But let's talk about prices, Steve. How much have supermarket prices increased this holiday season?
No need to increase prices. There's no great demand. Distributors close down a few days or a week before Christmas. When that happens and we need to replenish goods and we run out of certain items, then we'll have to replenish from another source, which may be more expensive by the time that will jack up prices. Otherwise, there's no need to increase prices if we have enough stock.
Okay, so it's a good time to buy for those looking to purchase their Noche Buena goods. But speaking of Noche Buena, Steve, I have to ask you about that 500 peso budget that the DTI said is enough for a family of four this Noche Buena. But based on current prices, is that still feasible? 500 pesos?
My take is don't be too, overly critical about it or too technical about it. Not very centavo, no. For a certain perspective, you give a beggar 450 pesos, he's gonna make ends meet. Of course, we don't want a beggar's meal. See, so we can afford better. Spend within your means. That's what I guess the DTI secretary is saying.
But realistically, what can be bought with 500 pesos with a 500 peso budget?
Okay, seriously. You can buy all the stuff you want to prepare. Of course, don't prepare food, fruit salad, for example. You have to, substitute it with, let's say, gelatin. Okay? So it's cheaper. But you still have dessert. See, you still have dessert. And you have spaghetti. And instead of ham, you can use luncheon meat. So, chop them to cubes. So it's not as grand as how people want to think their Noche Buena should be. But it's Noche Buena. It's with family. That's what matters.
Well, I guess this calls for buyers to be more resourceful and creative with how they spend their budget, right? If we're only talking about 500 pesos. But as early as now, do you see adjustments in the shopping behavior of consumers or buyers? Are they substituting already certain items for cheaper products?
They have, not just for this Noche Buena meal, but the whole year round, and suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, importers have been pretty creative too to come up with certain packages or to offer certain ways of preparing meals to make it easier on the pocket of the consumers.
But are you also seeing consumers or buyers skipping essential items given that inflation has been really high, prices are going up? So did you notice any shift in their behavior as well?
Well, they're looking for the cheaper brands. If you did notice, we don't really buy cheese in supermarkets these days. Of course, unless you go to the first-class supermarkets, not the five-star supermarkets, which sell cheddar cheese. But most of the time, what we buy are cheese food, processed cheese. They come up with names which give you the idea that it's cheese-flavored, item. Yeah, but, so because of that, my choice on consumer, and of course there are many formats in retailing these days, which like the hard discounters, which give the consumer a choice, where to buy, what to buy, how to prepare the meal.
Oh, I wanted to go back to what you mentioned, Steve, about having discounts, promos to relieve this burden on buyers, right? But how effective has that been for supermarkets? You know, having all these promos, won't you guys be absorbing losses as well when you do that?
Okay, one misconception is that we come up with all those promotions. Actually, we can initiate those, stores can initiate those, retailers can initiate those, but the approval comes from the supplier, which is either the distributor who has to ask probably the manufacturer. The distributor will tell the manufacturer, this store has too much of this item of ours in their warehouse. We gotta push them out. They're not yet about to expire. Don't wait for that to expire or near expiration date. So maybe we can do something about it and come up with a bundling of with premiums or certain percentage off so that we can push them out. So it's a collaboration between the retailer and the supplier. So a lot of times we cannot shoulder the losses, let's say 60% off or 30% off. Supermarkets cannot shoulder that. We don't have margins of 30%. So it's always in agreement with the supplier. So that said, ever since the pandemic was a game changer. Ever since the pandemic, whole year round, most supermarkets would have a sales section. Some
And
don't. If the supermarket you shop with don't, then maybe you'd like to explore shopping in other supermarkets.
And that usually happens around the holiday season, of course, to encourage buyers to take advantage of all those discounts and promos. So just to make it clear, Steve, this is not passed on to the consumers, right? All this discounts, promos, or additional costs.
It is especially rampant, especially pervasive during the season because suppliers want to reach their quota, their sales quota. See, that's why they're pushing them out. But whole year round, you have them, Pawi. It's not just during Christmas. Whole year round, you will find them because demand has been down, since the pandemic. When I say down, some have already have picked up, no, but some haven't picked up yet. So they're still doing whatever they can to push out the items that they've produced, so that so that we retailers don't have to return it to them, and they will have to figure out what to do with all these stocks.
Well, it's good that you mentioned the pandemic. I mean, it's been about 5 years already since since COVID-19
I
happened,
did.
right, Steve?
Yes,
And
yes.
I remember you talking about how 2024, 2025 was supposed to be a recovery year for retailers. Based on your assessment, as we close out the year 2025, how would you assess how the retail industry performed?
Well, some big supermarkets, we're not talking the small ones, we're talking the big chains. Some of the big chains, some of their stores have not really recovered since. I see supermarkets which have 9 counters during Christmas open out of 26, and there are some which have opened only 17 out of 52 checkout counters. There are supermarkets like that. So they have not recovered since the pandemic. When they used to have opened, all their counters and with longer store hours, now they're cutting back and not increasing their store hours by 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, only by 30 minutes for some stores. Some have not adjusted and have not extended their store hours at all. So it shows that the market, it's not just demand. Competition has also come in. No? There are a lot of stores which opened through these last 5 years. No? So then many formats also. So because of that, the consumer is king. He has a choice where to shop, or she has a choice where to shop.
Yes, of course. And with the introduction of online shopping, right, it's made it quite convenient to buy on all these online shopping platforms. Have they been also a big driving force towards the challenges that retailers are experiencing?
Yes, they have added some problems to the big chains in particular, but some have tried buying for online and then find out that it's not to their liking, so they go back to shopping physically at supermarket. Plus, of course, it's the thrill, quote unquote. It's different when you go shopping. Yeah, it's a thrill for the Filipino and not just a chore, right? We all know that. So you want to rub shoulders, yeah, with friends and neighbors, at supermarkets and malls. No, so people always go back and for that physical feel of shopping.
Yes, and if it can also be sort of a family activity. I remember enjoying trips to the supermarket with my parents, especially during
Absolutely.
Christmas. It's
Yes.
also a treat. But as we near Christmas Day, Steve, as you mentioned, you are expecting more buyers to flock to supermarkets. What are some tips that you can give them?
Always plan before going to the supermarket, especially during times like these. It's crunch time. No, you want to avoid traffic. You want to avoid having difficulty parking, the long queues in the supermarkets. So always bring a list and shop. Stick to that list before you go. Wandering off. Your hands start wandering and picking up things you haven't really planned to buy. Right. Of course, we have extra cash. Most likely, most families would have that during the season. But buy first what you need to buy, so that you can have a hearty uh, Noche Buena, no, and Medianoche. The problem most of the time is we start grabbing other things before the musts, though. We start grabbing the wants. And by the time we're about to prepare our meals, we lack a few of these items and we have to go back again. That adds to, the traffic again and all the stress we're going to get. Not worth the stress and the headaches and the increasing blood pressure during these last few days before Christmas. Yeah, so shop, plan properly, go to the sales section if there's one in that supermarket that you're shopping with, and pick up the items. Now, don't be afraid anymore about the expiration date. Most of the time, if not the retailers, then it's the suppliers who make sure that the expiration dates are not, they're not, the items aren't expired yet, no, or even
Yep.
about to expire. Some are just a few months ago away pa from expiration date. So, may quality check na naman, may control din naman. No? So shop from those. And always you don't need to shop for the cheapest item. Shop for the one that suits your taste and pinakasulit, hindi pinakamura.
Well, it is the festive season, so I guess that gives people a reason to somewhat splurge, right? This Christmas to treat themselves. But Steve, can we expect prices to remain stable, especially as the demand could increase closer to Christmas Day?
You can expect that nationwide.
Okay.
Some areas, some provinces, no, will lack the proper distribution from their suppliers, and will have to probably buy from wholesalers or even other supermarkets, no, just to be able to sell to their consumers, no. And when that happens, prices will be increased, no. That's why it's good to shop earlier before stores run out of items to supply and need to replenish them at a higher cost.
And finally, Steve, what is your outlook for supermarkets in the coming year, 2026?
That's a very difficult question to answer. Now, that's a challenge, no? Because there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. Consumer confidence as well as business confidence is down, no? So everybody's looking at when's the next election, what's going to happen with all this corruption, in the news, no? And it's bothering everyone, and not just the consumers, but also the business people. No, should we expand? Should we add more stores? Should we, create a different area, a different format? So all of these things are uncertainties and are challenges, no, for 2026. We all hope and pray, of course, that as we close 2025, things will get better, and 2026 will, be a good start, no, for a better year. That's already 6 years after the pandemic. No, but that said, a lot of items have been pouring in from abroad, no, even from countries like Vietnam, Bangladesh, India. So a lot of items have been, pouring into our market because they know people have been looking for cheaper substitutes.
Well, we are
Yeah.
all hoping and praying for a better year in 2026. But for now, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insights this morning. That was Steve Kua, President of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association. Thanks, Steve.